Hey guys, I'm Greg Cops with Linked Living Homes, and today we're going to take a little time talking about zoning. So, I'm with Linked Living Homes, and our company does home additions. Our specialty is in-law suite additions. Some people call them granny pods, or basically just an addition to your home for your parents. But we also do other additions, sunrooms, master suites, etc. So naturally, when you're doing a home addition, you have to pull the permits, and we get a lot of questions about the zoning, what's permitted. We get a lot of people that come to us who've received false information about what's really permitted, either by friends, family, other contractors. So it is an important item in terms of the home additions. It's an important one to get right so that you really know that you're permitted to do what you want to. And yeah, so we're going to take a little time today just walking through an example with you guys, and I hope that you find it valuable. So, the first thing I think to touch on is that there's two main permits that you need when you do an addition project. One is the building permit, and the second one is the zoning permit. And sometimes it's a two in one, but oftentimes they're separate. Regardless, the big difference is the building permit is concerned with things like your actual construction materials and methods, how things are going to go together, using materials that are really rated for what you're building, things like building a roof to the proper snow load, things like frost protected foundation, things like the electrical wiring being the right size, the circuiting not being overloaded, things like this, very technical construction items. And then there's the zoning permit. And the zoning permit is more concerned with what's the use of what you're going to build, what are you going to use it for, and where is it located on your property? How big is it going to be? So it's more about use and location than it is about the technical aspects of how it's built. So those are two separate things, the building permit and the zoning permit. And we're going to focus on the zoning permit today. The building permit, I would say it's a little bit less of a constraint. As long as you get a good builder, somebody who's professional, somebody who knows what they're doing, the building permit's not going to be an issue. They're going to know how to build things well and to code, to the UDC code, not very concerning. But the zoning permit is a big deal for our customers because it's going to determine how big of an addition you can build, where it can be located, can you do a detached unit on your property, can you attach it to the garage, can you connect it to the home, can you build an in-law suite, will it be permitted? The zoning is the one that can really stop the addition project. So, and it's a little bit trickier too. A lot of people get the wrong answers because they don't ask the right questions or don't ask the right person. So, we do handle the zoning permitting for all of our customers, and it's probably easiest to simply find somebody who does this professionally and have them check it, like us. But it never hurts to learn a little bit. So, we're going to take that time today to just walk through one example with you guys. And we're actually going to look through an example of a project that we built in 2022 for one of our customers in Green Bay. So, gonna start working on my screen here and just share with you guys this example of what we look at. So, at Linked Living, we use this checklist that we've put together that shows all of the main things that we look for and identifies the constraints so we know what we can build. So, of course, first you got to figure out who's the zoning authority in your area. In this example, I know that it's the city of Green Bay. If you get more rural, sometimes the county takes over the authority for the zoning permit, but if you're in the city, typically your city is doing it too. And this page shows the main things that we're going to touch on today: setbacks, the distance from the lot line to what you're trying to build, and impervious surface is also a constraint that comes into play often. So how much of the property are you actually able to cover with an impervious surface, or a surface that does not allow rainwater to drain through it, basically. That's kind of a rough definition, but it'll do for now. So impervious surface is big, and we don't have septic on this property because we're in the city and we've got city sewer. So septic is an important thing to check, but we're going to skip that now because we're in the city. And then we look at things like covenants, floodplain, wetlands, shoreland. So on this property, we don't have any covenants. There's no floodplain there. There's no wetlands. There's no shorelands. So none of those are applicable to this example, but they are important things to check on. If any of those things are present, everything gets a little bit more complicated, a little bit more involved. So hopefully that doesn't apply to whatever project you're looking at. And if it does, it's probably a reason to get other people involved again to help you. Or maybe you just want to dive into the weeds and figure it all out. I guess that's up to you. So, all right. This is the checklist we're just going to kind of walk through here today. So, this is the GIS map, which if you're going to check on your permitting, this is the first thing I always pull up. Is I go to the county, whatever county the property is located in. This property is in Brown County. We're in the city of Green Bay. So I've pulled up the property here, and it shows you it's not perfectly accurate. You need a survey to get perfectly accurate with lot lines, but it gives us a pretty good idea of where the lot lines are in reference to the house. So we've got this up, and I'm checking setbacks first. So I'm going to go onto the City of Green Bay's website and find their zoning ordinance and figure out what the setbacks are there. So here we are inside of their zoning code, and we're going to go to residential districts, general provisions, and here's our table. This is going to show us what the setbacks are. And I checked. I know that we're in the R1 district here, so I'm going to fill that in. Depending on what district you're in, you're going to have different setbacks, so that's one of the first things to figure out. We're going to scroll down to where we find setbacks. Okay, here we are, setbacks, and the second column of information is the R1. So we've got a front yard setback of 15, side yard setbacks of 6 and 8, rear yard of 25. So these are our applicable setbacks. So I'm just going to record those in my checklist, and we can reference them later. Front yard's 15, which isn't really going to be applicable to this project. Side yards are 6 and 8, and the rear was 20, 25. Okay. 25 feet. All right, very good. Okay, next I'm going to check on impervious surface here. So we're going to go back to the code and scroll down a little bit. Find our impervious surface here. Here we go. These zoning ordinances can be a little intimidating in terms of finding what you're looking for. If there's a search keyword function, I definitely recommend trying that. Otherwise, you might be better off just calling the planner or the zoning administrator. Personally, I check myself and then I call just to double check. But okay, here we are. Impervious surface. It looks like in the R1 district, which we are in, there's 50% coverage allowed. So we're allowed to cover 50% of the lot, which begs the question, how much are we covering now? Again, we said that impervious surface is the surfaces on the property that don't allow water to pass through. Generally speaking, I'm sure a zoning planner would give you a better definition, but they also, the definition changes a little bit in different areas. For instance, in Grand Chute, driveways don't count towards maximum coverage percentage, and they call it coverage, not impervious. And in other areas, the driveways, patios, sidewalks will count. So you really have to check. But for the sake of this example, let's say that all of the hard surfaces, the roof, the driveway, the patio, and the back are all impervious, just to be on the safe side. I'm just going to use the measure area function on the GIS map. And here I'm finding that we've got just under 3,000 square feet. So let's take, okay, our current impervious is 3,000 square feet. How much square feet does the lot have? Let's take a look at that. Here we can see we've got 11,700 square feet. That's the total lot. 11,700. So just pull up a calculator here. And we know that we can cover 50% of the lot. So what's 50% of 11,700? 5,800. So, and then currently we have 3,000 square feet of impervious. So we'll subtract that out and we'll say we can still add 2,800 square feet without hitting our maximum impervious surface. That's a lot of room to work. When we do in-law suites, the most of our additions are 400 to 900 square feet, under 1,000 square feet. Sunrooms typically in the 3 to 500 square foot range, so they can add a lot back here. And this family was interested in adding an in-law suite. A lady lives there and wanted to add on for her mom so they could live connected. And we designed an in-law suite, but we have plenty of room to work here. So, okay, we've done impervious surface. Those are the two constraints in terms of where it's located and size that are the biggest deal. Let's just take a look at what the buildable area is, because it's always good to just highlight that buildable area. And when you highlight that, it kind of forces you to think about what are all the locations that we could build this, where can we not? At least you know what you're working with. So we had a 25-foot rear setback. That takes us to about right there. Okay. And then the side yards were 6 and 8. So we get a lot of room to work there. So let's just highlight this area on the back that's buildable. We've got all of this. So this is all buildable area. We know that we can't exceed, what was it? We can't exceed 2,800 square feet, but nothing that we would build that's an in-law suite would be that big anyways. So this is the area. And this was an in-law suite again. So I'll show you a picture of the back of the house. I can pull this up. Take a minute for my computer to catch up. But they wanted to connect to the garage in this scenario. A lot of times when we build in-law suites, families are interested in connecting the garage I think it just gives you a little bit more separation, a little bit more privacy. So this is the back of their house. You can see the garage here and the house there. So they really wanted to connect to the garage and use this existing opening actually as their front door to get in. So we decided to place something behind the garage, and that worked. Um, Continuing to go through the spec sheet a little bit more, we already talked about, yeah, no covenants, no floodplains, no wetlands, no shorelands. All that worked out good. So we ended up, I'll show you a picture of what ended up going back there. This is the addition we actually built and ended up being a one bedroom, one bathroom, kitchen, and an open dining and living area. And that worked out pretty good. So that's just a quick look at the zoning that we go through. This was a pretty simple scenario, being that we didn't have any of those complications with floodplain, wetland, etc. Also, the fact that it's in the city makes it a little bit easier because there was no septic involved. Septic brings some of its own problems to the party and complicates things a little bit. So, we didn't touch on everything, but I hope that a couple of these things might help you in planning whatever addition is that you're dreaming of. Um, Definitely you want to call the zoning or planner, the zoning administrator or the planner as you're getting started looking at this to make sure that what you're thinking of doing is doable. But I think it's also good to check on things yourself. Sometimes you can catch stuff that they might miss, or you might talk to the wrong person, or you might find creative ways to make what you're trying to do work. So it definitely does not hurt to do the homework yourself and see what you can do. So that's all for today. Take care.